Chapter 178. A peak-level mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist? Yi Chen's pupils suddenly shrunk. This young girl, who was wearing a thin veil over her face, was a peak-level mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Under Yi Chen's soul power, the Zhan Qi vibration released from her body was like a raging river, surging violently. Lin Yu paused for a second, then slowly turned his head around and said to Yi Chen in a low voice, Murong Qingcheng, the second disciple of the Sky-Flying Devil Martial School, a rank 6 institution in the Black Dragon Empire. She was ranked 27th in the last Hidden Dragon ranking. It's said that she's as powerful as the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon ranking. The Sky-Flying Devil Martial School? Yi Chen thought to himself. What a coincidence. Back in the Wild Goose Falling River, he had met the Black Crow Taoist, an elder of the Sky-Flying Devil Martial School, and now in the Three River City, he had met the second disciple of the Sky-Flying Devil Martial School, Murong Qingcheng. Lin Yu said, the Black Dragon Empire is not too far away from the spirit-speaking nation, but very few people would show respect to Qi Xiaofeng. This time, why did Murong Qingcheng come here? I don't understand. After all the top 30 Hidden Dragon ranking martial artists are very proud, and they wouldn't make friends with people who are ranked too low. The appearance of Murong Qingcheng had changed the atmosphere in the garden. All the young men tidied their clothes and sat up straight, trying to show the best side of themselves to Murong Qingcheng, while the few girls snorted coldly. They were quite unhappy. However, they had to admit that no matter if it was in terms of temperament or figure, they were all far inferior to Murong Qingcheng. As for appearance, everyone knew that Murong Qingcheng was one of the two most beautiful girls in the Black Dragon Empire, and even many princes of the Black Dragon Empire wanted to marry her. Qi Xiaofeng's eyes were burning with passion. He hurriedly walked up to Murong Qingcheng, smiled and said, Miss Murong, you're here. Please forgive me for not going out to greet you. Just call me Murong. Murong Qingcheng gave a sweet smile and responded, All right, Murong, sit here. Qi Xiaofeng gestured with his right hand. Following Qi Xiaofeng's words, Murong Qingcheng sat down beside Qi Xiaofeng. She picked up the cup of tea that had just been served to her, took a sip, then glanced around with her pair of beautiful eyes. Seeing Yi Chen, who was sitting in the outer circle, she couldn't help but feel a bit surprised. She didn't remember this name being in the Hidden Dragon ranking, so he must be a rising star. There was nothing special about this gathering. It was just a place for everyone to exchange feelings, or some of their own experiences. Of course, as the young elites of their respective countries, their achievements in martial arts and cultivation were undoubtedly the main theme of this gathering, which would never change. Brother Zhang, I heard that your divine windbreak has already reached the 9th stage. I wonder how powerful it is. I don't think he is weak. The wind godbreak is the ultimate technique of my wind riding sect. Its power is naturally not weak. Even Brother He's Vajra protection art may not be able to block it. Oh, since that's the case, let's exchange a few moves. Let's see if your divine windbreak or my Vajra protection art is stronger. As you wish. While they were chatting, some of them couldn't help but invite each other to a duel. Qi Xiaofeng was well prepared for this. He cleared a large space for the two of them, then smiled and said, The Hidden Dragon rank competition has not started yet. You two can stop here, just in case you hurt our friendship. Don't worry, I won't hurt him. I'll be gentle as well. Both of them were ranked very close to each other in the Hidden Dragon ranking. Both of them had the intention to compete with each other. Therefore, both of them showed their sharpness in their tone. Neither of them would back down. Qi Xiaofeng let out a bitter smile and stepped back to stand beside Murong Qingcheng. Boom! On the open area, the two who had invited each other to a duel had already launched a move. The sturdy young man's entire body was wrapped up by a layer of golden shield. The shield didn't look like a simple airflow. Instead, it looked like a layer of golden water ripples, thick and solid, perfectly protecting his body. On the other side, the skinny young man's long hair fluttered in the air while a cyan whirlwind condensed behind his back. The whirlwind was compressed into an oval shape, with a dark cyan color in the center. As the skinny young man launched a punch, a cyan whirlwind immediately appeared on his arm, fiercely attacking towards his opponent. Lin Yu introduced the two to Yi Chen. The one who launched the Vajra protection art is Zhao Gang. He was ranked 65th in the last Hidden Dragon ranking. The one who launched the Wind God Break is Chung Feng. He was ranked 60th in the last Hidden Dragon ranking. Although their ranks are different, their strengths are almost the same. I wonder who will be more powerful. Yichan said. Probably Zhao Gang. Why? Lin Yu showed a confused look. Yichan grinned and said, although Cheng Feng's attacks are fierce like a thunderstorm, he won't be able to break Zhao Gang's Vajra protection art within a short period of time. While defending, Zhao Gang has already started to look for Cheng Feng's flaws. If I'm not wrong, once Cheng Feng's Zhanqi stagnates, Zhao Gang will launch a full-power counterattack. Hearing Yichan, Lin Yu turned his eyes to the fighting area, but he still couldn't figure out what was going on. The fight between the two of them was way too fast. It was hard for other martial artists at the same level to analyze it. Even if they could analyze it, they wouldn't be able to do what Yichan had done and tell the whole story. Gao Yuan, who was standing not far away, laughed at Lin Yu and said, shameless boasting. Lin Yu didn't take Yichan's words seriously, but of course he would defend his own friend. He said, we're just talking about ourselves, what does it have to do with you? Everyone here is more powerful than you two. Brother Qi invited you here to give you a chance to see the world, to let you know that there's always someone better than you. Don't think that just because you're able to attend this gathering, you're powerful enough to compete with us. Yichan didn't get angry at all. He said blandly, in terms of power, you're only average among all of us. You're not qualified to teach us a lesson. A cold beam of light flashed across Gao Yuan's eyes. Among you 9 nations, the most powerful one is only ranked 54th in the Hidden Dragon ranking. If you think that you can beat them, you'll be able to dominate the younger generation. What a joke. Don't overestimate yourself. The few people standing around had always looked down on the other 9 nations, including the Wind Nation and the Elephant Mountain Nation. Hearing Gao Yuan's words, they all showed scornful looks. Where did this kid come from? Does he really think he's a big shot? In all the previous Hidden Dragon ranking competitions, the 9 nations have always been at the bottom. Last time Wuxia showed up arrogantly, but he was still beaten by us. This time another arrogant guy showed up. Lin Yu's face darkened. He said to Yichan in a low voice, Yichan, can Zhao Gang really win? That's about right. Yichan didn't take the other's words to heart. He dared to say that Zhao Gang would win because of his soul power. The argument between the two of them had already caught Qi Xiaofeng and Murong Qingqing's attention. Qi Xiaofeng shook his head and said, this guy is too reckless. A strange look flashed across Murong Qingqing's eyes, but she didn't say anything. Boom! The golden light and cyan light clashed against each other, bringing up dazzling fire sparks. Zhao Gang, your turtle shell is indeed hard to break, but I'd like to see how you're going to block this attack of mine. Cheng Feng's body darted up into the air. He spread his arms and threw a heavy kick. A cyan whirlwind appeared on his right leg, spinning madly and condensing into a cone-shaped cyan whirlwind under his foot, swiftly piercing towards Zhao Gang. Seeing this, Gao Yuan sneered. He thought that Zhao Gang would never be able to block this attack. Most of the others also thought the same. Yi Chen's expression remained unchanged, as if nothing had happened. Clang! Zhao Gang's golden shield twisted and was about to shatter. Suddenly, Zhao Gang raised his left arm and slapped heavily on Cheng Feng's foot. Cheng Feng leaned his body, laughed and said, that was just a prelude, great storm. Swish! 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 All of a sudden, tens of silhouettes surrounded Zhao Gang and launched attacks at him. Those sharp streams of air slowly broke his golden shield. Cheng Feng, you're too reckless. You lose. Zhao Gang's body remained motionless. All of a sudden, a silhouette flashed across the air. His gold-like palm pierced through the layers of silhouettes and landed on Cheng Feng's protective Zhanqi. Bang! Cheng Feng thought that he had suppressed Zhao Gang, but he didn't expect that Zhao Gang was also looking for his flaws. At this moment, Cheng Feng had already used up all of his previous power and hadn't released any new power yet. Therefore, he couldn't help but move a little bit slower, and didn't have enough time to dodge. In the next moment, his protective Zhanqi was shattered, and he was sent flying backwards, blood gushing out of his mouth corners. Thanks for letting me win. Zhao Gang laughed and stepped back into the crowd. Many people didn't know how to react to this result, including Qi Xiaofeng. In their eyes, Cheng Feng's overall power should be slightly higher than Zhao Gang's. Lin Yu glanced at Yichan in surprise. Yi Chen's power was exactly the same as what he had said. Shaking his head, Lin Yu felt great. He hurriedly turned his head to Gao Yuan and said sarcastically, "Ah, who said we were boasting just now? Brother Gao Yuan, isn't it?" "You." Gao Yuan's face darkened. Lin Yu stopped looking at Zhao Gang and murmured to himself, "Some people are so full of themselves, yet they still pretend to be so arrogant. Did this brat guess it? It must be. He's only at the early clasping Yuan realm. But seeing them being so arrogant, I'm not happy at all. Who wants to go up and fight with them? Teach them a good lesson." "No need, Brother Gao Yuan can't stand it anymore." While the crowd was talking, Gao Yuan took a step forward, pointed his finger at Lin Yu and Yi Chen and said, "Bullshit, which one of you dares to fight with me? Or you can come at me together. Otherwise, people will say that I, Gao Yuan, am bullying you." Before Yi Chen said anything, Lin Yu walked up and said, "Come at me together? You really think too highly of yourself. I'll fight with you first." Yi Chen didn't move. Before the fight started, he couldn't tell how powerful the two of them were. Lin Yu might be able to win. Gao Yuan sneered and said, "If I can't beat you within 10 moves, I'll give up. I'd like to see how you're going to beat me within 10 moves. After the trip to the Heavenly Dream Ancient region, Lin Yu had realized that he was still not powerful enough. Therefore, he had been practicing his martial arts in the Dragon Tiger Mountain. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to this gathering and humiliated himself on the open area. The two of them stood 20 meters away from each other. Pop. "Lin Yu, now, I'll let you know the real gap between us." Gao Yuan took a deep breath and released a bright blue light from his body. Within the blue light, electric bolts were sparkling and jumping. Being licked by the electric bolts, the flat flagstone was instantly scorched black and cracked. Thunder Zhenqi. Yi Chen was slightly surprised. Chapter 179. Among all kinds of Zhenqi, without a doubt, the Thunder Zhenqi and the Fire Zhenqi were relatively more powerful. The Earth Zhenqi and the Gold Zhenqi focused on defense, and the Water Zhenqi was the most powerful one. As for the other rare kinds of Zhenqi, some were strong, some were weak. For example, the Ice Zhenqi was one of the most powerful ones. But of course nothing was absolute. Zhenqi with different attributes was only one of the factors in a martial artist's fighting power. It couldn't control the overall situation. What truly mattered was the martial artist's own abilities. "Lin Yu, take this." Lightning bolts flashed across the air. The distance of 20 meters was completely ignored by Gao Yuan. He instantly appeared in front of Lin Yu and threw a punch that was wrapped in dazzling lightning bolts. What a fast speed! Lin Yu was slightly shocked. Cyan yellow earth waves burst out from his body and spread out, neutralizing Gao Yuan's fist power. Pop! Pop! Countless tiny lightning bolts burst out, swimming in the air. "Do you think you can hold on for 10 moves just by defending?" Gao Yuan sneered while his left fist, which was wrapped in even fiercer lightning bolts, smashed on the cyan yellow earth waves. Because of the high speed, a shrill sonic boom was generated. At this moment, Gao Yuan's attack speed had reached the speed of sound. Standing beside Murong Qingcheng, Qi Xiaofeng said, "Lin Yu is in danger." Gao Yuan, supported by the Thunder Zhenqi, is not only powerful but also fast. "Indeed, but I don't think Lin Yu will be defeated so easily," Murong Qingcheng said. The cyan yellow earth waves were penetrated layer by layer. Lin Yu finally launched his counterattack. "Want to defeat me? 10 moves are far from enough. Back off." Lin Yu didn't back off, instead he moved forward and threw a punch. The fierce fist power instantly transformed into a 3 feet tall Zhenqi cauldron, clashing against Gao Yuan's fist. Boom! 2 different kinds of fist power clashed against each other. The impact force generated by the collision immediately cut off a thick layer of the ground. The aftershock even collapsed the walls of the courtyard, which were quite far away. Thunder Light Rush. Gao Yuan and Lin Yu's silhouettes clashed against each other, then immediately separated. After all, Gao Yuan's cultivation was higher than Lin Yu's. His feet left deep marks on the ground, and soon, he stopped his body from retreating. Next, his hands released a water tank-thick lightning bolt towards Lin Yu. Crack! The lightning bolt was as fast as a bolt of lightning, and only when it reached 3 steps away from Lin Yu did the ground crack and an arc-shaped scorched mark appeared on the ground. Conquering the world. Gao Yuan's power was way beyond Lin Yu's expectation. At this moment, Lin Yu had already forgotten about everything else. He started circulating his Zhanqi at an extremely high speed, slightly spread his feet, and crossed his arms. His strong cyan-yellow Zhanqi transformed into a 2-man-tall Zhanqi cauldron, shielding Lin Yu against the lightning bolts. Clang! Dazzling lightning and the sound of metal rubbing against each other erupted at the same time. Shock waves mixed with electric arcs and sound waves raged wildly, sweeping toward the surrounding people. At this moment it was not hard to tell who was more powerful. The weaker ones had no choice but to set up a thick layer of Zhanqi shield in front of their bodies to counteract the impact of the shock waves, while the more powerful ones either broke the shock waves with a single punch or activated their protective Zhanqi. The most powerful ones were Qi Xiaofeng, Murong Qingcheng, and another mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Qi Xiaofeng's palm was as sharp as a blade, and as he swung it across the air, no matter how powerful the shock wave was, it was cut into two like a piece of paper, and disappeared in the air. The other mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist, whose name was unknown, straightened his palm and shielded himself. Once the shockwave touched his palm, it was like a bean that had been smashed by a huge millstone, and was instantly crushed. As for Murong Qingcheng, who was the most powerful one among the crowd, she smiled, curled her long and slim finger and flicked slightly. Pop! The shockwave spread in the opposite direction, as if this slight movement of her finger had changed the direction of the shockwave. Impressive! Although Yi Chen was looking at the others, he didn't slow down at all. He raised his right index and middle finger and swung across the air, easily cutting the shockwave apart. On the ground, streams of blood oozed out from the corner of Lin Yu's mouth, and his clothes were slightly scorched. Gao Yuan laughed out loud and said, "It seems that I've overestimated you. You've been boasting about how powerful you are, but you can only take 3 of my moves. The winner hasn't been decided yet. It's too early to be happy. Take this." Lin Yu cast an unknown martial art, and a cyan-yellow stream of Zhanqi swooshed up from his body, seeming to be even stronger than before. After that, he let out a great roar, spread his arms, and launched an attack towards Gao Yuan. Rumble! A 10-meter-tall, 20-meter-wide, gigantic Zhanqi cauldron descended from the sky and pressed down. Trying to suppress me? Gao Yuan's eyebrows twitched. His body suddenly became heavy, and all of his Zhanqi had been compressed into his body, disabling him from moving. In the next moment, the ground under his feet couldn't bear the pressure of the cauldron anymore, and suddenly caved in for a meter. The inside of the ground was exactly the same as the outside of the cauldron. Roar! Gao Yuan let out a ferocious roar, along with which dazzling lightning bolts burst out from his body once again. A vivid and lifelike lightning fist swooshed up into the sky and heavily punched on the Zhanqi cauldron. The Zhanqi cauldron was indeed huge, but apparently it wasn't big enough to look like a real Zhanqi cauldron. Being struck by the lightning fist, the cauldron instantly exploded. Puff! Lin Yu let out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned pale. "You've pushed me to this extent, you're not bad. Now it's time for you to lose." Standing in the crater, Gao Yuan threw a punch towards Lin Yu from a distance. Along with a terrifyingly great power, his lightning fist roared towards Lin Yu. This punch, Lin Yu can't take it. Without any hesitation, Yi Chen's body transformed into a shred of afterimage and darted in front of Lin Yu. He unsheathed the dragon spring sword and hacked on the lightning fist. Lightning bolts burst out, and Gao Yuan grinned viciously. This punch of his was powerful enough to shatter a small mountain, and even a peak-level mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist wouldn't be able to take it. Puff! The lightning fist split in the middle, and Yi Chen was perfectly unharmed. He blocked it? Impossible! Gao Yuan's expression froze. He couldn't believe his own eyes. All the people who were watching the fight were also shocked. Gao Yuan's lightning fist was split in half. Is this real? I guess Gao Yuan didn't use all of his power. After all, this punch was launched towards Lin Yu. He must have held back 20 to 30% of his power. Turning around, Yi Chen said to Lin Yu, "I'll take care of this." Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Lin Yu said in a serious tone, "You be careful. He's much more powerful than he was 2 years ago. He can almost rival a late clasping Yuan realm martial artist now. I know what I'm doing." Waiting until Lin Yu stepped back into the crowd, Yi Chun fixed his eyes on Gao Yuan again. Gao Yuan leapt out of the crater, grinned and said, "Not bad, you've managed to block 80% of my punch, you should be proud of yourself. So what if you've used all of your power? Just do it. I hope you can still be so stubborn later." Gao Yuan gave a long and resonant shout, along with which, the lightning bolts around his body suddenly burst out, even more powerful than when he was fighting against Lin Yu. Obviously, he hadn't used all of his power before. Lin Yu wasn't worthy of him using all of his power at all. Just now, if Yi Chun hadn't cut that lightning fist open with a single sword move, he would have held back some of his power. But now he didn't have to hold back anymore. He was going to knock Yi Chun down with a single punch and make him suffer even worse than Lin Yu. Gao Yuan took a step forward, and the ground cracked under his feet. His right arm was wrapped in lightning bolts, which made it look like a lightning arm, as it swung towards Yi Chun along with an incomparably fierce aura. One thunder, two flashes. Crack! The huge lightning fist suddenly exploded in the air and split into two smaller lightning fists, attacking towards Yi Chun from the left and the right, as fast as lightning. Not enough. Yi Chun's expression remained unchanged. His body also split into two, instantly cutting the two lightning fists open. Shadow splitting? Just a small trick. Gao Yuan was a bit disappointed that he couldn't beat Yi Chun with one punch, but he soon forgot about it. He took a deep breath, and the lightning bolts around his body converged onto his skin, condensing into a blurry lightning armor. The lightning armor looked quite intimidating, which made him look like an ancient warrior, incomparably powerful. Gao Yuan has even condensed a lightning armor. It is said that once the lightning armor is condensed, the power of the thunder and lightning godly fist would be increased by 50%. Qi Xiaofeng was a bit surprised. Murong Qingqing said, "Since the last Hidden Dragon rank competition, everyone's power has increased by leaps and bounds. I think this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition will be even more intense." Of course, this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition is the most exciting occasion for the young generation of the South Shore region. It will be extremely hard to get a good ranking. While the two were talking, Gao Yuan yelled out coldly, "Thunder Strike!" Before the punch was fully launched, the ground around Gao Yuan's body had already cracked and collapsed, as if an invisible power was tearing them apart. After that, countless broken bricks floated up into the air, and endless lightning bolts sparkled in the air, filling up the entire space. In the next moment, a meteor-like lightning bolt darted out, leaving a tens of meters long fiery tail behind. The fiery tail was coiled with snake-like lightning bolts, letting out a series of crackling noises. But it was not over yet. Countless broken bricks and lightning bolts also darted out, seeming to carry the entire space towards Yi Chun. This punch is powerful enough to rival a late-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Gao Yuan has won. It's good for them to learn a lesson. Let them know that the outside world is huge, not something that their 9 nations can compete with. Although this punch hadn't reached its target yet, everyone was sure that Gao Yuan would win. Still not enough. Yi Chun's eyes were filled with coldness. His clothes fluttered in the air even though there was no wind. He gripped the dragon spring sword with both of his hands and swung it out. Although it seemed to be slow, it was actually fast and heavy. When he swung the dragon spring sword, everyone had a vague feeling that there was an invisible power surging in the air, which made everything in the surroundings quiet down. It was so quiet that one could even hear the sound of a needle dropping, the sound of grass being blown by the wind, the sound of leaves rustling, and even the sound of one's own blood flowing. Puff! The broken bricks and lightning bolts were the first to be shattered. Under the power of this sword move, the invisible power had been activated, shattering everything in the air. Soon, an even more dazzling lightning bolt flashed across. It was a stream of sword light that was as clear as a clear spring. It had easily hacked onto the meteor-like lightning bolt. The lightning bolt was as fast as lightning, and seemed to be able to pierce through everything. However, facing this stream of sword light, it was directly cut into two. It was hacked into two again. Someone murmured. Chapter 180. How is this possible? I have already trained my thunder and lightning godly fist art to the thunder armor level. The power of my fist has been increased by 50%. Even a late clasping Yuan realm warrior might not be able to take it head-on. How did he manage to break it with only one sword attack? Was that sword intent? Thinking of the word sword intent, Gao Yuan was shocked. He looked at Yi Chen, who was covered in electric arcs, in disbelief. Yi Chen's body, which was not that tall, had been enlarged infinitely. An invisible sharp chi had torn the air apart and shattered the void. Swoosh! Among the bright electric arcs, Yi Chen walked out. His blue robe was clean and tidy without a single speck of dust on it. Before those electric snakes could even get within 3 feet of him, they would be shattered by his protective Zhan Qi, which contained a sharp chi and couldn't hurt him at all. I have taken 3 punches from you. Now it is time for you to take 1 sword attack from me. A sharp light flashed in Yi Chen's eyes. 2 beams of sword chi shot out from nowhere, landing on Gao Yuan's body. In the next second, Gao Yuan sensed it immediately. His hair stood up and his scalp was numb. Isn't it just 1 sword attack? I would like to see how you are going to break my defense with 1 sword attack. Gao Yuan was very scared of Yi Chen's sword intent. Although he had not experienced the power of the sword intent in the last Hidden Dragon rank competition, he could still remember the power of the sword intent. However, it was not a competition right now, so he had enough time to set up his defense. 3 layers of thunder and lightning. Lowering his body, Gao Yuan shouted with a low voice. He put his hands together and separated them. After doing this 3 times, 3 layers of blue thunder and lightning defense screens appeared in front of him, lined up neatly and stacked on top of each other. Looking from inside, the outside world suddenly became blurry. I did not expect that Gao Yuan would be forced to use all of his defenses. Once a sword artist has mastered the sword intent, his attacking power would double. Among the warriors at the same level, only a few would be able to compete with him. No wonder he did not take Gao Yuan seriously. But it should be impossible for him to break 3 layers of defense with 1 sword attack. Seeing that Yi Chen had mastered the sword intent, most of the people's faces turned serious. Reaching out her hand, Murong Qingqing smoothed her hair that had been messed up by the wind, and said with interest, entry level of sword intent. I don't think there are many people in the whole South Shore region who have reached this level, right? Qi Xiaofeng paused for a second, then nodded and said, in the last Hidden Dragon rank competition, there were 13 people who had mastered the sword intent, and 2 of them had reached the entry level of the sword intent. However, only 8 of them managed to make it to the top of the ranking list, as the other 5 were too weak, and still immature in using the sword intent. This time, I'm afraid that they will make a comeback. There are over 100 billion people in the South Rudra region, but only 13 people under the age of 24 managed to comprehend the sword intent. I never thought that one of the 9 nations where Lin Yu is from would be able to comprehend the entry-level sword intent. He is indeed not to be underestimated. Indeed, sword artists who have comprehended sword intent are extremely terrifying. They are able to maintain their battle power at its peak at all times. Any factor that is disadvantageous to the battle will be destroyed by the sword intent. Qi Xiaofeng took a deep breath and stared at Yi Chen with a pair of shining eyes. You have to catch it. Once Gao Yuan was ready, Yi Chen took a step forward and swung the dragon spring sword horizontally from left to right, without even the slightest trace of power. Along with the sword move, the air rippled like water and was sliced open. Pop! 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 The 3 layers of thunder and lightning defensive screens only managed to block Ji Hao's attack for a split second, after which, the screen was penetrated by the sword chi. Gao Yuan, who was under the protection of the 3 layers of thunder and lightning, let out a mouthful of blood, and his thunder and lightning armor instantly shattered. Is this the power of the sword intent? Defense is nothing to him. Gao Yuan let out another mouthful of blood, and looked dispirited. The back garden was deathly silent, and only the rustling of flowers and grasses could be heard from time to time. After quite a while, people started talking to each other. With only 1 sword move, Gao Yuan lost. This guy is incredibly powerful. If he could be a little bit more powerful, he would be another one of the most powerful warriors in the Hidden Dragon rank competition. Standing in the crowd, Lin Yu was silently admiring Ji Hao. He thought to himself, how long has it been? He has made such a great progress again. Thank you for letting me win. Cupping his hands, Yi Chan stepped back to Lin Yu's side. Yi Chan said. Initial success of the sword intent. Before, his sword intent had been infinitely close to the initial success. When he passed through the natural moat gorge, the remaining sword intent of the Battle King had not only shattered his sword intent, but had also brought him a slight bit of enlightenment. Added with the slight bit of enlightenment, he had finally broken through the shackles and reached the initial success of the sword intent. The initial success of the sword intent and the sword intent that was approaching the initial success seemed to be only one step away from the initial success, but the difference between the two was like the difference between a normal person and a disabled person. Just as I thought. Lin Yu nodded and sighed silently. Gao Yuan was defeated and didn't dare to provoke Yi Chan again. The others were slightly surprised but then stopped talking about this. To them, winning or losing was way too normal. The younger generation had never been willing to submit to each other, but if one of them lost, there was nothing they could say. All they could do was to go back and practice hard, and try to defeat their opponent in the future to wash away the shame they had suffered today. Under such a fierce competition, they had been making amazing progress, because they had to surpass their opponents over and over again. That kind of pressure was enough to stimulate their potentials bit by bit. Every time the younger generation reached their peak, the true spirit continent would become prosperous, and powerful warriors would emerge in great numbers. Murong, I didn't have the chance to fight against you in the last Hidden Dragon rank competition, but this time how about we have a short fight? Except for Qi Xiaofeng and Murong Qingcheng. Another mid-clasping Yuan realm warrior couldn't wait any longer. He wanted to fight against Murong Qingcheng to see how powerful he was. Murong Qingcheng smiled and responded, please. The air was as thick as water. Murong Qingcheng's silhouette silently appeared in the middle of the field. At that moment, many people seemed to have stopped thinking. Force field. A trace of surprise flashed across Yi Chen's eyes. Lin Yu said in a low voice, Murong Qingcheng has been cultivating one of the two most powerful martial arts of the Sky Flying Devil Martial School. The Sky Devil Great Art is a top-rank Earth Realm martial art, divided into 15 levels. Once you reach the 6th level, you will be able to generate a Sky Devil force field, which allows you to control the air in the force field and increase your speed to the limit. Moreover, the Sky Devil force field will cancel out a part of the enemy's attack, or even all of it. Many people believe that she is as powerful as the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon rank. However, the one who challenged Murong Qingcheng is not an ordinary person either. His name is Wei Renjia. He has already attained the Blade Intent 2 years ago, and is ranked 37th, even higher than Qi Xiaofeng. I wonder what level he has reached now. I've made the right decision to come here. I can actually watch a fight of such a high level. Finished speaking, Lin Yu felt his blood boiling. Top-rank Earth Realm martial art. Sky Devil Great Art. Blade Intent. Yi Chan slowly let out a long breath. The rank 6 Sky Flying Devil Martial School was indeed powerful. They even had a top-rank Earth Realm martial art, which was not something a rank 7 martial institution could compare with. In this case, there was a reason why rank 7 and above martial institutions were called super martial institutions, because their comprehensive power was way too powerful. As for that young man named Wei Renjia, no wonder he wasn't affected by Murong Qingcheng's aura. It turned out that he had attained the Blade Intent. Those who had attained the Blade Intent and the Sword Intent had a strong will, and wouldn't be easily affected by anything. But of course, once they were affected, the consequences would be extremely severe. In the best-case scenario, their Blade Intent and Sword Intent would be destroyed, and in the worst-case scenario, they would never be able to achieve anything in their entire lives. If your Sky Devil Great Art was still at the 6th level, you would probably be defeated by me, Wei Renjia. The young man named Wei Renjia laughed and walked towards the open area step by step. With every step he took, the Blade Intent released from his body would grow stronger. By the 7th step, the Blade Intent had swooshed up into the sky, slicing the surrounding air into pieces. Brother Wei, you seem to be quite confident. Murong Qingcheng stood in the middle of the open area. The air around her was deathly still, without a single ripple. She wasn't affected by the Blade Intent at all. If I don't have confidence, I will naturally lose some momentum. How can I, Wei Renjia, not have confidence in myself? Chin. Wei Renjia drew his blade out of the scabbard and attacked first. The sharp blade Qi, driven by the Blade Intent, was like a peerless dragon, slashing towards Murong Qingcheng, who was not far away. Before the blade chi even reached her, the ground 3 meters around Murong Qingcheng instantly caved in, and the area within 3 meters was where her force field was located. Break! Murong Qingcheng took a step forward, her slender palm slapping onto the blade chi. Buzz! The air twisted rapidly. That slender palm looked weak and powerless, but it contained an extremely terrifying force field, twisting the trajectory of the blade chi. The blade chi was twisted, and its power was instantly reduced by 30%. It was shattered by Murong Qingcheng's palm, disappearing into thin air. Stormy waves! Wei Renjie yelled, holding his blade with both hands and slashing down. Boom! The sound of crashing water was heard as an extremely thick bright blade chi broke through the water. It carried an extremely powerful poetic perspective as it sliced out violently, devouring everything in front of it. Yi Chan was secretly shocked by its power. Ranked 37th in the Hidden Dragon rank, he was indeed not a normal warrior. Sky Demon Power Field. Murong Qingcheng looked slightly more serious as she pushed both of her hands forward, creating an even more horrifying force field in front of her. She was trying to twist the tide and the blade chi into pieces, turning them all into ashes. Crack! The first thing to be destroyed was the luxurious building behind Murong Qingcheng. The building was split in the middle, creating a huge crack. Then Wei Renjie's blade chi had also been shattered. When the blade chi was about 5 meters away from Murong Qingcheng, it had been twisted to its limit by the horrifying Sky Demon power field and shattered. The 7th level of the Sky Demon Great Art. Wei Renjie stared at Murong Qingcheng, but did not launch another attack. Being able to break half of my Sky Demon power field, your blade intent must have reached the entry level, right? Murong Qingcheng smiled lightly and asked back. Putting his long blade back into the scabbard, Wei Renjie shook his head. I lost. The Sky Demon Great Art is a top-rank Earth Realm martial art, which is extremely hard to train. Once it reaches the 7th level, its power will increase exponentially. With my current power, I still cannot break your 7th gravity field, so it is not a shame that I lost. The Sky Demon Great Art was indeed powerful, but it was not without its flaws, which was its slow training speed. Murong Qingcheng had already reached the peak level of the mid-clasping Yuan realm, but his Sky Demon Great Art was only at the 7th level. It would take a long time for him to reach the 8th level. On the other hand, Yi Chen's Great Mystery Art was not as powerful as the Sky Demon Great Art, but his training speed was many times faster. Once he reached the 9th or 10th level, his Great Mystery Art should not be any weaker than his Sky Demon Great Art's 7th level. Fortunately, his training speed had always been fast, so it should not be too far away. Yi Chan had seen all of this and was calculating in his mind. Chapter 181. As the fight between Murong Qingcheng and Wei Renjie came to an end, the others didn't want to be left behind, and started fighting one after another, including Qi Xiaofeng. Qi Xiaofeng's weapon was a pair of special weapons, the Waning Moon curved wheel. With a single strike, his opponent, who was a peak-level early-clasping Yuan realm martial artist, was sent flying away. An arc-shaped slash mark was left on the ground between the two of them, which was half a zhang deep and tens of meters long. Lin Yu couldn't help but say to Yi Chan, although Qi Xiaofeng always looks like a nice guy, he's actually quite cruel. Yi Chan nodded. Some people looked like sheep, but they were actually wolves. Once they were enraged, they could be even more terrifying than ordinary wolves. Putting the Waning Moon curved wheel back into his sleeve, Qi Xiaofeng glanced at the sky, then grinned and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, today's party is over. From now on, all the expenses will be on my tab. I believe I can still afford it. The Three River City's freshwater food is quite famous. I've been wanting to try it for a long time. Brother Qi, since you're so generous, I won't refuse. Hehe, if you want to eat freshwater food, of course you have to go to the deck." Most of these people were young men who were full of vigor and vitality, and had already tasted the pleasure of fish and water. Going to the deck to eat freshwater food was just a convenience. What they really wanted was to enjoy the beautiful young women on the deck. But of course, with Murong Qingcheng and the other few young women here, they couldn't say it out loud. Leaving the dilapidated yard, the group of people separated. At night, the Three River City was brightly lit, and was still as lively as before. In the bedroom of one of the guest rooms, Yi-chan was sitting on the spacious bed with his legs crossed and his eyes closed. He had been trying his best to cultivate his zhanqi, and the noise outside didn't affect him at all. In today's gathering, the power of Murong Qingcheng, Qi Xiaofeng, and Wei Renjie had given him a great pressure. Some of them had been practicing extremely powerful martial skills, and some of them had mastered powerful martial skills. Moreover, the sword intent, which had allowed him to defeat those who were at a higher level than him, wasn't the only thing that stood out. Wei Renjie had mastered the blade intent, which was as famous as the sword intent, and had also reached the initial level of the blade intent just like him. If he participated in the hidden dragon rank competitions with his current power, needless to say, he would not be able to make it into the top 40, and might not even make it into the top 50. After more than 2 years, who knew what kind of level those warriors who were lagging behind in the hidden dragon rank would have reached? Maybe some of them had just started to rise when they participated in the last hidden dragon rank competitions, and did not have the time to build up their power. Now that 2 years had passed, their power must have improved by leaps and bounds, and they might even make it into the top 30, or even the top 10. Feeling a dull pain in his meridians, Yi-chan cut off his connection with the spirit stone and slowly opened his eyes. It's good to have some pressure, but I have to take it one bite at a time. I can't just eat until I become fat. After all, power cannot be rushed. Right now, I need to cultivate the great mystery art to the highest level first. On top of a tall building, 2 human silhouettes were standing. Under the moonlight, one could see that it was a man and a woman. The woman was wearing a purple dress, with a light veil covering her face. It was Murong Qingcheng, the second-ranked disciple of the Sky-Flying Devil Martial School, and the man was Qi Xiaofeng. A gentle breeze blew across the light veil covering Murong Qingcheng's face. She said blandly, "Brother Qi, you didn't invite me all the way here just for a small party, did you?" Qi Xiaofeng grinned and responded, "Of course not." "Oh, I'm Murong Yuan, am all ears." Murong Qingcheng's face looked the same as ever. She abruptly reached out her hand and made a grabbing gesture. In the air nearby, a bat that was looking for food was twisted and shattered by an invisible force field. Qi Xiaofeng said, 3 months ago, I heard that someone had found a Sky Devil Serpent scale in the 100,000 mountain range of the Grey Mystery Nation. A Sky Devil Serpent scale? Is it true? A strange light flashed across Murong Qingcheng's eyes as she stared at Qi Xiaofeng. Qi Xiaofeng's breath slightly quickened. Then he awkwardly shifted his line of sight and said with a smile, "It should be true. I bought this Sky Devil Serpent scale for 100,000 gold and 500 low-rank soul stones. I have it right now, you can check it out." A dim light flashed across Qi Xiaofeng's storage ring. Then a human head-sized black scale appeared in his hand. He took a deep breath, then handed the scale over to Murong Qingcheng. Taking over the scale, Murong Qingcheng activated her Sky Devil Zhenqi and injected it into the scale. Buzz! The air slightly rippled, and a layer of black light emerged on the scale's surface. It is indeed a Sky Devil Serpent scale. Only a Sky Devil Serpent scale can resonate with my Sky Devil Zhenqi. At first, Murong Qingcheng's face was filled with joy. Then she let out a bitter smile and said, however, judging from the size of this scale, this Sky Devil Serpent should be in its growing stage, and its power should be no lower than level 7. Even if you and I join hands, we would not be able to withstand a single attack from it, not to mention getting the Sky Devil flower. The reason why Murong Qingcheng cared so much about the Sky Devil Serpent was not because she wanted to gain something from it, but because of the Sky Devil flower that it was guarding. According to the legend, the Sky Devil flower was formed from the blood of an ancient devil king, and contained an extremely powerful demonic power. If she could get a leaf of the Sky Devil flower, she would be able to reach the 8th or even the 9th level of the Sky Devil Great Art in a very short period of time. If she could get a whole Sky Devil flower, she might even be able to reach the highest level of the Sky Devil Great Art. In the history of the Sky Devil Martial School, except for some powerful warriors who had died, no one had ever reached the highest level of the Sky Devil Great Art. Qi Xiaofeng grinned and said, I invited you here, of course. I won't let you come here for nothing. Can you check if this scale is damaged? Hearing Qi Xiaofeng, Murong Qingcheng lowered her head and looked at the edge of the scale. Sure enough, there was a crack on the edge of the scale. She had been too excited just now, so she didn't notice it. This Sky Devil Serpent is injured. Murong Qingcheng clearly knew that the Sky Devil Serpent had an extremely strong defensive power, and almost no other demonic beast at the same level could rival it. Therefore, it would not easily lose its scales. Also, unlike other snake-type demonic beasts, after a Sky Devil Serpent shed its skin, it would swallow the skin that it shed. Therefore, it was impossible for a Sky Devil Serpent to lose its scales. An injured Sky Devil Serpent in its growing stage is not something that we can deal with, unless it has suffered a very serious internal injury and can't recover within a short period of time. Murong Qingcheng was very calm. That day, there was a thunderstorm in the 100,000 mountain range, and it was not far from where the Sky Devil Serpent's scale fell. I think there must be some demonic beasts or warriors trying to kill the Sky Devil Serpent while it was going through the thunder trial. Right now, the Sky Devil Serpent might not be still alive, and your Sky Devil Zhenqi can sense the Sky Devil Flower. As long as the distance is not too far, you should be able to find the Sky Devil Flower. The reason why Qi Xiaofeng was trying so hard to help Murong Qingcheng was not for anything else, but to win her heart. Ever since the last Hidden Dragon rank competition, he had been fascinated by her beauty and couldn't control his heart. He believed that there were a lot of people like him. I will remember this favor. Although Murong Qingcheng vaguely knew what Qi Xiaofeng was thinking, and she didn't want to accept his favor, she still didn't want to give up the Sky Devil Flower. When do you plan to leave? I am not as powerful as you, but I can help you, Qi Xiaofeng said. In 3 days. I need to make some preparations. Alright, see you in 3 days. After Qi Xiaofeng left, Murong Qingcheng turned around and looked down at the entire Three River City. She slightly sighed in her heart. Qi Xiaofeng had left a good impression on her, but it was just a good impression and nothing more. There would never be any emotional connection between the two of them, not to mention that she had been cultivating the great Sky Devil magic. Therefore, even if she met someone who admired her, she would never fall in love with him. But of course, once she did fall in love with him, it would be the kind of love that would never change until death. The air slightly twisted, and Murong Qingcheng's figure disappeared. The Three River City was very lively in the morning. All kinds of noises were mixed together and transmitted into the guest rooms of the restaurants. After washing up, Yichan pushed open the door and walked out of the room. The streets were crowded and bustling with activity. There are only 3 seats left for the passenger ship heading to the Grey Mystery Empire. Anyone who wants to take the seats, come to the number 23 pier as soon as possible. Time waits for no man. Yichan stopped and asked, "How fast is the passenger ship? How can the passenger ship of our South Chamber of Commerce be slow? It can travel 4,000 miles a day. We bought this ship from the Black Dragon Empire." Yichan was surprised but soon shook his head. There was a branch of the South Chamber of Commerce in the Three River City, so it was reasonable that there would be a lot of ships. However, the speed of the passenger ship couldn't be as fast as that of the ocean beast. If the passenger ship could travel 4,000 miles a day, it would take 50 days to reach the Grey Mystery Empire, which was way too long. Forget it then. Yichan didn't plan to take the passenger ship, so he decided to walk there by himself. With his current cultivation, he could easily travel over 10,000 miles a day. After leaving the Three River City, Yichan flew along the edge of the Wild Goose Falling River. As he moved further and further away from the river, fewer and fewer people could be seen around him. At last, he couldn't even see any signs of human habitation. All he could see was the boundless river and the endless mountains. Boom! After punching a flying demon beast away, Yichan didn't slow down at all, and disappeared into the mountains. Walking along the Wild Goose Falling River wasn't a shortcut. Instead, he needed to cross the mountains in the Spirit-Speaking Kingdom to reach the Grey Mystery Empire as soon as possible. Time flew like water. Half a month later, Yichan finally arrived at the Grey Mystery Empire. Opening another map of the Grey Mystery Empire, Yichan touched it with his finger and murmured, "The Grey Mystery Empire has a lot of mountain ranges. This should be the Ancient Path Mountain Range, and the Three-Horn Mountain Range is in front of me. After that, I'll have to cross a desert to reach the edge of the 100,000 Mountain Range. It's a pity that I don't have a detailed map of the 100,000 Mountain Range. After all, the 100,000 Mountain Range is too small to be marked on the map. I'll have to find them myself. Alright, I'll go there first." Putting away the map, Yi-chan looked at the sky and flew out. The mountains in the Gray Mystery Empire were much more dangerous than the mountains in the Windy Nation. Therefore, Yi-chan didn't dare to run around recklessly and attract the attention of some powerful demon beasts. Therefore, it would take him a long time. However, no matter how careful he was, he wouldn't be able to take care of everything. During these 3 days, Yi-chan had run into 7 rank 6 demon beasts and 2 top rank 6 demon beasts. He could still fight against the former, and if he couldn't defeat them, he would just run away. However, the latter almost injured him, and he had to spend a lot of effort to get rid of them. There was even one time when he clearly saw a rank 7 demon beast. Fortunately, it was already quite far away from him and didn't notice him. Looking at the boundless golden desert in front of him, Yi-chan let out a long breath and thought, "Finally, I'm here. After this desert, I should be able to reach the 100,000 mountain range." Yi-chan didn't start his journey immediately. Instead, he found a shady place and took a short rest. He had been too tense during the past few days, and he was still a bit tired. The next morning, Yi-chan started his journey. Chapter 182. As far as the eye could see, everywhere was a dazzling golden desert. The surface of the desert was smooth like brocade and streamlined, rising and falling to form numerous hills of varying heights. Occasionally, there would be some low-level snake-type demon beasts that drilled out from the desert, twisting their wriggling bodies to pounce on their prey. Boom! When passing by a hill, Yi-chan's scalp went numb. His body shot up into the sky, leaving only an afterimage behind. The next second, the hill collapsed inwards, and a huge black hole appeared. On the edge of the black hole there were many sharp teeth. It was a gigantic demonic beast, and the black hole was its mouth. If it weren't for Yi-chan's fast reaction, he would have already fallen into the beast's mouth and been chewed into minced meat. It's not safe to walk in the desert. This demonic beast had hidden itself so well, not even a trace of its aura was leaked out. Yi-chan was still in a state of shock. Down below, the demonic beast didn't catch any prey, but it didn't care. Its body continued to sink down, and soon it disappeared, leaving behind only a huge pit. This desert was not as big as the scorching ancient desert between the 9 nations. 3 days later, Yi-chan had crossed through the desert and arrived at the edge of the endless 100,000 mountain range. The 100,000 mountain range is one of the most dangerous places in the whole South Rudra region. With my current power, it would be a bit difficult for me to go there. Fortunately, I've trained the Great Mystery Art to the 9th level the day before yesterday, and the quality and quantity of my Zhanqi have greatly increased. Now, I should be able to fight against a mid-level rank 6 demonic beast. The 100,000 mountain range was said to have 100,000 mountains, but in fact there were even more small mountains. There were millions of them, and no one knew how many millions of miles there were. 4/5 of the Gray Mystery Nation's territory was made up of the 100,000 mountain range. Since the ancient times, no one had been able to explore all of the 100,000 mountain range, and only a few people had been able to explore even 1/10 of it. This was because the 100,000 mountain range was way too big, and there were way too many mountains. Even if a martial institution went in, it would be useless. Taking a deep breath, Yi-chan entered the outer area of the 100,000 mountain range. When Yi-chan entered the 100,000 mountain range, 2 silhouettes appeared at the border of the Gray Mystery Nation, outside of the Ancient Path mountain range. One of them was black and the other was green. They were the 2 young men from the Huang family in the Black Rock City. Stepping on a huge tree, the teenager in black said, "After going through the Ancient Path Mountains, the Triangle Mountains, and the Undercurrent Desert, it will be the 100,000 mountain range." Qin Hao, are we really going to enter the 100,000 mountain range? It is said that the 100,000 mountain range is one of the oldest dangerous places in the whole South Rudra region. There are countless rank 7 and rank 8 beasts there, and even rank 9 beasts. Even astral-reaching realm warriors would not dare to go in there openly. Risk and wealth have always been proportional. If you stop when you encounter danger and difficulties, how can you achieve great things? Not to mention that the location of the red dot is not in the center of the 100,000 mountains. It is only in the periphery. There won't be too many terrifying things there. The young man in green was expressionless. The black-clothed young man's brows eased up slightly, and then he asked, The outer area of the Grand Myriad Mountains is still boundlessly vast. Where exactly is the location of that red dot? In a mountain shaped like a goat's head, surrounded by a dense forest. Since we know the shape of the mountain, it will be easy. Let's go. Swoosh! Swoosh! The two of them darted into the ancient Path Mountain range. Qin Hao and Tianchong have also come to the Grey Mystery Nation. What a surprise! On a mountain not far away from them, a man and a woman appeared. The one talking was Qi Xiaofeng, whose face was full of smiles, and standing beside him was Murong Qingcheng, who was wearing a fluttering purple robe. Murong Qingcheng said, "I don't think their goal is the same as ours. You're right, the Sky Devil flower is not very useful to them. They wouldn't take the risk to look for it." Qi Xiaofeng nodded. 3 days after Yichun left, the two of them set off. On their way, they accidentally found Qin Hao and Tianchong, who were both ranked in the Hidden Dragon ranking. Both of them were ranked within the top 45, and Qin Hao's power was not any weaker than Qi Xiaofeng's. He was ranked 35 in the last Hidden Dragon ranking. Inside the 100,000 mountain range, no one below the astral reaching realm would dare to fly in the sky, not even peak-level late clasping Yuan realm warriors. And the astral reaching realm warriors would only dare to be this arrogant in the outer area. Once they got a little bit further in, they would still have to go down and run. After all, the sky was way too eye-catching. One could easily see it by raising one's head. It might not be dangerous for a while, but after a while, the chance of encountering danger would be 100%, and the chance of dying would be more than 80%. In other words, if anyone wanted to die, he or she could just fly in the Grand Myriad Mountains. On the bumpy mountain road, a shadow flashed across. It had been 5 days. For 5 whole days, except for the night, Yichun had been searching for the location of the red dot all the time. The red dot was located in a mountain that was shaped like a goat's head, surrounded by a dense forest, which was very eye-catching on the map. Unfortunately, only when he arrived at the Grand Myriad Mountains did he realize what it meant to look for a needle in a haystack. With the speed of searching for 100 mountains every day, Yichun had already searched for 500 mountains in 5 days. However, the Grand Myriad Mountains did not lack mountains at all. There were millions of mountains in total, which was equivalent to the population of a huge city. Of course, if there was no danger, Yichun could search for thousands of mountains in one day. Unfortunately, this was the Grand Myriad Mountains, not a place where he could do whatever he wanted. In the mountain stream far away, a 10-meter-long, 3-meter-tall wolf-like demonic beast howled towards the sky. The horrifying sound spread out for hundreds of miles with the mountain stream as the center. The beast's chi was so strong that all of the low-ranked demonic beasts nearby kneeled down on the ground, making whimpering sounds. Top-rank 6 demonic beast. The Wind Wolf. Yichun's body flashed and disappeared into the pile of rocks nearby. The Wind Wolf was as powerful as a peak-level late-clasping Yuan realm martial artist, but ordinary peak-level late-clasping Yuan realm martial artists would definitely die if they encountered it. Only those talented late-clasping Yuan realm martial artists could fight against it. For example, if Yichun reached the late-clasping Yuan realm, he would be able to defeat the Wind Wolf, and if he reached the peak-level late-clasping Yuan realm, he might even be able to kill the Wind Wolf. Unfortunately, he was still far from being able to fight against it. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The Wind Wolf started its monthly patrol. Wherever it went, none of the demonic beasts dared to run away. All of them kneeled on the ground, not daring to move a single inch. In the air, the Wind Wolf glanced around, then opened its mouth and sucked a strong demonic cow into its mouth. It bit the cow in half and blood splashed everywhere. After a while, the Wind Wolf howled satisfyingly after it had finished its dessert. It flew far away and started patrolling its territory, waiting until the Wind Wolf's aura disappeared. Yichun walked out from the pile of rocks. This Wind Wolf is definitely a king among the rank 6 demonic beasts. The top rank 6 demonic beasts I encountered in the ancient Path Mountains and the Triangle Mountains are much weaker than it. Normally, the classification of demonic beasts was very general. Take the rank 6 demonic beasts as an example. The weakest ones were normal rank 6 demonic beasts. The slightly more powerful ones were elite rank 6 demonic beasts, and the most powerful ones were top rank 6 demonic beasts. However, there were also different levels among the top rank 6 demonic beasts. For example, the 2 top rank 6 demonic beasts, he encountered in the ancient Path Mountains, and the Triangle Mountains were only demonic beasts with normal bloodlines. However, this wind wolf had the bloodline of an ancient demonic beast, which was extremely noble. It was the king among all the rank 6 demonic beasts, and it had the potential to become a rank 7 demonic beast. Although the wind wolf is powerful, it can't do everything. I don't think I will encounter it again. Murmuring, Yi-chan continued to look for that mountain which was shaped like a goat's head. Another 2 days passed. This afternoon, the sky over there is filled with purple mist. I am afraid it is extremely poisonous miasma. The area it covers is way too wide. On top of a small hill, Yi-chan was wearing a blue robe that was very similar to the color of the plants. At first glance, it was very hard to distinguish it. Let's go and have a look. It had been a week since he arrived at the 100,000 mountain range. Yi-chan did not want to miss any clues. A distance of several dozen kilometers could be covered in the time it took to eat a meal. This was because they did not dare to make a big fuss. Otherwise, they would only need a few dozen breaths. Shoo! On top of a huge tree, Yi-chan squatted on a branch. He looked through the dense leaves and saw the scene hundreds of meters away. Yi-chan frowned. In front of him was a dense forest. Outside of the forest, there were a large number of warriors guarding. These warriors were all wearing yellow robes, holding long blades in their hands. There was a blue long blade embroidered on their sleeves. They should be from a martial institution that specialized in blade arts. Most of these people were condensing reality realm warriors. There were also over 20 clasping Yuan realm warriors. All in all, there were at least 200 or 300 of them. Elderting, what is that purple miasma up there? Seems to be very dangerous. Beside a huge rock outside the forest, a young man asked a black-haired elder. The black-haired elder glanced at the purple miasma and said, "That is the bone-corroding miasma. Before one's Zhen Qi is refined into Zhen Yuan, he or she will die immediately. Even the protective Zhen Qi will be corroded very quickly." Wow, so powerful. But how come I have never heard of the bone-corroding miasma? There are many things that you have never heard of. The bone-corroding miasma is very rare in the modern era. It can only be found in some ancient places. It is our Long Blade Martial School's fortune to find the bone-corroding miasma. We might be able to find some treasures in the forest. Wow, no wonder our headmaster has come in person and brought hundreds of people into the forest. He also asked us to stand guard outside and kill any warriors that pass by. Oh right, is there any bone-corroding miasma in the forest? Our headmaster and the others will not be in danger, right? Don't worry, there is no bone-corroding miasma in the forest. It can only be found above the forest. The black-haired elder was the head elder of the Long Blade Martial School. The Long Blade Martial School was an ordinary rank 9 institution thousands of miles away from here. This time, an elder of the school accidentally discovered the bone-corroding miasma and immediately went back to report. The headmaster of the Long Blade Martial School made a prompt decision and sent a big half of their people. Fortunately, the 100,000 mountain range between the Long Blade Martial School and the forest was not too dangerous. After losing dozens of people, they finally arrived at their destination. Sensing the conversation between the two with his soul power, Yi-chan pondered. The bone-corroding miasma was something that only existed in the ancient times. There might be some treasures in the forest. Oh right, the location of the red dot on the map seemed to be similar to this place. Taking out the map piece from his storage ring, Yi-chan's pupils shrank. There was a light purple mark on the pattern of the forest surrounding the Goat Head Mountain, which was most likely the bone-corroding miasma. But of course, even if it was just a coincidence, he still had to go in and take a look. Otherwise, he wouldn't know how long he would have to search for it. Chapter 183. Instead of going in directly, Yi-chan flashed his body and flew towards another direction of the jungle. After a long while, Yi-chan looked at the steep rock mountain in front of him and was speechless. There was actually a ring of natural rock mountains on the outskirts of the forest. They were over 1,000 meters tall, and above the rock mountains was the bone-corroding miasma. There was no gap between the two, so it was impossible to enter the forest from the rock mountains. Looking at the height of the bone-corroding miasma, Yi-chan forced a smile. The height of the miasma was not that high. It was only 1,002 to 300 meters high. But no one knew how vast it was and how dangerous it would be if he flew up there. Once he ran into an accident and used up his Zhan Qi, he would definitely fall down and be corroded into ashes by the miasma. It seems that I still have to go in from that place. I might have to use force. Letting out a breath, Yichun went back the way he came. Thousands of miles away, in the 100,000 mountain range, boom! A thunderous sound reverberated through the sky and the earth. This wind wolf is powerful, I can't stop it. Tianchong's clothes were torn, and blood was dripping down from his palms. Qin Hao was not any better than him. He stared at the wind wolf on the opposite mountain with a dark look. The two of them had been searching outside the 100,000 mountain range for a couple of days, but found nothing. Today the wind wolf, the king of all rank 6 demonic beasts, had been chasing after them. The wind wolf was extremely fast, even faster than a peak-level late-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Although the two of them had great flying skills, they could never escape from it. Try to run, don't fight it with brute force. Tianchong forced a smile. Of course, he knew that if he fought with the wind wolf, he might not be able to hurt it even if he lost all of his blood. Ower! The wind wolf's front paws shattered the mountain, and it darted over like a sharp arrow. Sky Dragon Battle King Spear. Air-breaking palm. A dark golden spear light surged up and turned into a dragon-shaped chi, which pounced out. Then there were rows of huge vacuum palms that could cut off the airflow, slapping towards the wind wolf with the weight of Mount Tai. One spear in one palm, the timing was perfect. Apparently, it was not the first time that the two of them had joined hands. The wind wolf was so powerful that it tore apart the dragon-shaped chi stream with only one claw attack. As for the huge vacuum palms, they were shattered by the demonic chi it released. Run! The two of them did not expect to hurt the lunar wind wolf at all. They just wanted to buy some time to run away. Of course, they were not stupid. They did not run away from the sky. With their speed, the lunar wind wolf would soon catch up with them. Only by flying between the mountains would they have a chance. Mountains split open one after another, and the wind wolf of evil was still chasing after them. Look, there are people over there. They look like Qi Xiaofeng and Murong Qingcheng. Tianchong pointed at the low sky in front of them. Qin Hao was overjoyed. Let's get closer and use them as our shields. Whoosh! Whoosh! Under the threat of danger, the two of them moved at an unprecedented speed. Several li away, Qi Xiaofeng's face darkened and said, "These two bastards, how dare they lead the lunar wind wolves to us? Damn it! Let's go." Murong Qingcheng doesn't want to waste time fighting with the wind wolf. She activates the demonic force field and the air around her is twisted. Murong Qingcheng's figure suddenly shoots out. For people and one beast chased each other, and the rumbling sounds were endless. The noise caused by the chase was too loud, and it might attract other terrifying things. Murong Qingcheng raised her right hand, and a tens of meters tall hill was pulled up by her demonic force field, and smashed towards Tianchong and Qin Hao who were behind them. The hill covered the sky. Bitch! The corner of Qin Hao's mouth twitched, and he slapped towards the hill that was smashing towards him. Bang! The hill exploded and countless huge rocks fell down from the sky. Within such a short while, the wind wolf of evil had already caught up with the two of them. It opened its mouth and let out a dense cloud of evil power. Ah! Tianchong let out a shrill scream. He felt that his blood had been frozen, and his body became numb. Before he could ask for help, he was torn into pieces by the wind wolf of evil. Tianchong, don't worry, I will take revenge for you. Qin Hao stared at Murong Qingcheng and grinned viciously, while a lustful light flashed across his eyes. In front of them, Murong Qingcheng didn't throw the hill towards Qin Hao anymore. Qin Hao was the target of the wind wolf, and once he died, the wind wolf would definitely target them, which was not a wise move. There is a dense jungle over there. Let's go. Qi Xiaofeng had been observing the terrain. He raised his head and saw a dense jungle, where the trees in the jungle were hundreds of zhang tall, even hundreds of zhang tall and amazingly thick. Qi Xiaofeng felt a bit happy. As long as they entered the jungle, the wind wolf wouldn't be able to find them no matter how powerful it was. Not to mention that these trees were thick enough, even if one tree couldn't stop the wind wolf, they would be able to hold it off for a long time. Murong Qingcheng nodded. On the outskirts of the jungle. Elder Tongue, more people are coming, and there is also a demonic beast. Ah, it's the wind wolf. These bastards, they actually lured the wind wolf here. The people of the Long Blade Martial School, who were guarding outside the jungle, panicked. Elder Tongue's face darkened, for days ago, there was a young man who fought his way into the jungle. After all, he didn't hurt any of our people. But these 3 people lured the wind wolf here. They are obviously trying to kill all of us. Damn it. Elder Tongue, what should we do? The wind wolf is not something that we can deal with. Even our headmaster can't do anything about it. Taking a deep breath, Elder Tongue yelled out coldly, all of you listen up. Go into the jungle now. But what? If you don't want to die, go in. Now. Following Elder Tongue's order, all the people of the Long Blade Martial School rushed into the jungle and disappeared without a trace. Let's go in as well. Activating the Sky Devil force field, Murong Qingcheng grabbed hundreds of zhang-tall tree in the air and darted towards Qin Hao like a javelin. She had never liked this guy since a long time ago. Murong Qingcheng, don't let me catch you. Otherwise, I'll make you beg for death. Qin Hao yelled out with a twisted face. Qi Xiaofeng sneered, Qin Hao, if you don't die today, I'll kill you next time. Swoosh. Swoosh. Both of them followed Qi Xiaofeng into the jungle. Qin Hao was the only one left outside the jungle. He had been blocked by the hundreds of zhang-tall tree for a while, and was about to be caught up by the wind wolf. I was planning to use this Yuan light ball at the critical moment, damn it. Qin Hao didn't care about anything else. He took out a cyan crystal ball from his storage ring. Except for the color, it was exactly the same as Yi Chen's blue crystal ball. He crushed the crystal ball, and a 1-foot-thick layer of cyan light shield enveloped Qin Hao's body. Within the shield, Qin Hao had an amazingly strong defensive power. Crack! The light shield twisted, and Qin Hao was slammed into the jungle by the gigantic claw. Along the way, he smashed and broke countless trees. If it weren't for the protection of the light shield, he would have been smashed into meat paste long ago. After chasing for so long, the wind wolf had only managed to kill one person, which made it quite annoyed. Without any hesitation, it darted into the jungle. The trees in the jungle were truly astonishing. Not only were they hundreds of feet tall, but they were also as thick as a wall. If they were hollowed out, they could definitely become a smaller skyscraper. It would be a piece of cake for thousands of people to live in. It was truly a wonder how they grew. Standing under the tree, Yi-chan felt like an ant. I've been in here for 4 days, and I haven't run into any demonic beasts, but what's with all those white bones? Did they kill each other? Yi-chan was a bit confused. Running into demonic beasts wasn't scary, as he could always run away, but not running into any demonic beasts would be very strange. Moreover, in this place where there weren't any demonic beasts, there were white bones everywhere. Some belonged to humans, and some belonged to demonic beasts. Ah! 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 In the depths of the jungle, a series of shrill screams came out. Swoosh! All the people of the Long Blade Martial School were facing the outside of the jungle, moving closer to each other, forming a large-scale battle formation within a battle formation. Hundreds of pairs of eyes were staring at the deep end of the jungle without blinking. Their palms, which were holding their long blades, were dripping with sweat, and sounds of swallowing saliva could be heard from time to time. Chapter 184. Why is there no movement? The pressure of the approaching storm was really unbearable. One of the young warriors was so nervous that he tried to cheer himself up. Don't talk. The Long Blade Martial School elder next to him glared at him. Without making a sound, the greenish-red vines drilled out of the ground, instantly tearing apart the elder's protective true energy and piercing into his body. The surface of the arm-thick vines would sway from time to time, as if large masses of flesh and blood were being sent into the elder's body. Ah! Seeing himself turn into a bag of bones, the elder could no longer stay calm. He opened his mouth and let out a blood-curdling scream. In the next second, the battle formation was completely messed up. There's a vine coming out of the ground. Damn it! It's under my body. Help! Help me! Screams and screams spread out one after another in this area. Despair flooded everyone's mind like a flood. Many of them felt that their hands and feet were numb, and they couldn't even breathe. The Long Blade Martial School's leader was called Li Yuan. He clenched his fists, took a deep breath and shouted coldly, "Split into groups of 10, spread out and form a small battle formation. If you see a vine, chop it down as hard as you can. If you kill one, you'll have a higher chance of survival." Within this short period of time, more than 30 people had died, and 1/3 of them were killed by their own people. If this situation continued, everyone would collapse. In front of despair and fear, Li Yuan's words were not very effective. Except for a small number of people who followed his orders, most of the people had already fallen into a state of madness. Whenever they saw something approaching them, they would swing their blades at it with bloodshot eyes. The weakness of human beings was clearly shown at this moment. "I can't take it anymore. I want to leave. I want to leave this damn place. If this goes on, we'll all die." As more and more people died, some of the younger warriors finally collapsed. They desperately separated themselves from the crowd and ran as far as they could. If there was one, there would be a second. It was like a virus that spread like wildfire and no one could stop it. These people didn't even manage to run far before they were sucked dry by the vines. Their protective zhenqi was as fragile as a piece of tofu, easily broken by a single poke. "Leader, if this goes on, we'll all die. We'd better run. It's better to let as many as we can escape than to be wiped out." All of the elders of the Long Blade Martial School were clasping Yuan realm martial artists, and their protective zhenqi was exceptionally strong. However, the attacks of the vines were way too frequent and weird, and they always targeted the areas where the protective zhenqi was the weakest. By now, 2 to 3 elders had already died, and the other elders couldn't help but yell out. Li Yuan was a peak-level late clasping Yuan realm martial artist. With the help of his protective zhenqi, he had managed to cut a lot of vines. However, at that moment, even though he wanted to, he did not have the strength to do so. There were more and more vines coming at him. Every time he cut one, more would attack him. His face was gloomy and pale. His voice contained true energy transmitted outwards. "Everyone retreat. Don't panic." Just as he finished speaking, an elder said in a trembling voice, "Sect Master, we can't escape. There are vines everywhere outside. We've been surrounded. Damn it. Is the Long Blade Martial School going to perish here today?" Li Yuan and the other elders couldn't help but think pessimistically. "They're attacking. Oh my god." Countless greenish-red vines moved like snakes, covering the sky and covering the earth. Everywhere they passed, cultivators fell to the ground, their bodies sucked dry until only skin and bones remained. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. For the first time in his life, Li Yuan felt so powerless. Right now, he only had one thought in his mind, which was to kill as many vines as possible. With him as the center, sharp blade qi spread out, shredding the greenish-red vines one after another. Yi Chun didn't care about the situation of the Long Blade Martial School anymore, because he had also been discovered by tens of vines. These vines didn't have eyes or noses, only a mouth. However, they seemed to have very sharp senses, easily discovering the weak spots of Yi Chun's protective zhenqi. Ji Hao unsheathed his dragon spring sword and cut 3 vines in half, sending a greenish-red juice splashing everywhere. "Fortunately, I've cultivated the Great Mystery Art to the 9th level, and the quality and quantity of my zhenqi has already surpassed the zhenqi cultivated with a low-rank Earth Realm martial art. Besides, I'm wearing a low-rank light armor, which can increase my defensive power by more than 10%. With these 2 factors added together, my defensive power is almost equal to that of a peak-level mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist." While moving swiftly, Yi Chun cut the vines one after another, feeling a bit lucky. Soon, tens of vines were cut off one after another, but none of them could hurt Yi Chun. However, Yi Chun's eyebrows were knitted even more tightly. Probably because the vines had sensed that Yi Chun was a huge threat, countless vines had gathered over from all directions, gradually surrounding Yi Chun, leaving no space for him to escape. Yi Chun's expression didn't change. As long as he was protected by the sword and tent, all kinds of negative emotions wouldn't be able to affect him, only making him calmer. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. When launching sneak attacks, the vines wouldn't make even the slightest sound. However, when launching a frontal attack, the vines' attacking speed had been raised to a whole new level, and they darted towards Yi-chan as fast as lightning. Swirling clouds. The dragon spring sword released an arc-shaped stream of sword chi, which rose straight up, twisting the airflow and forming a light blue tornado, shrouding Yi-chan. Puff, puff, puff. All the vines that were attacking Yi-chan were shredded into pieces by the tornado, and from time to time, a thick stream of sword chi darted out and cut off large amounts of vines. Pop! The tornado was suddenly penetrated, and a dark red vine darted towards Yi-chan. This tornado is mixed with Zhen Qi, and can even cut steel into pieces when rotating at a high speed. However, this dark red vine was able to penetrate through it, which means it's much harder than ordinary cyan and red vines. This seems to be bad. As this thought flashed across his mind, Yi-chan swung his sword towards the dark red vine. With the help of his sword intent, the dark red vine wasn't indestructible, and was easily cut into pieces. However, in the next moment, Yi-chan discovered that new ends of the dark red vine were growing out from the broken ends of the vine, and the sharp fangs were densely covered in a spiral shape. I can't stay here for long. After cutting off the dark red vine once again, Yi-chan activated his great mystery Zhen Qi with all of his power and infused it into the tornado, moving deeper into the jungle. The dark red vine followed closely behind, while the other cyan and red vines crazily blocked the tornado, trying to stop Yi-chan from moving forward. Yi-chan sneered and controlled the tornado to attack. Under the attack of the tornado, the vines were torn apart one after another, and the ground was covered with layers and layers of cyan and red vines. Yi-chan walked deeper and deeper into the jungle, and it seemed like there was no end to it. With the help of the pellet that could instantly replenish his Zhen Qi, Yi-chan was not in a hurry. He waited until the tornado weakened, and then performed the swirling wind and broken clouds again, moving forward. Damn it! What the hell is this? Qin Hao was completely surrounded by the greenish-red vines. Although his body-protecting Zhen Qi could temporarily save his life, his Zhen Qi was being consumed at an extremely fast speed. In just half an hour he had already swallowed 3 Zhen Qi recovery pills. Shoo! A dark red vine that was as thick as a calf shot towards him. Crack! The vine was shattered by the vacuum giant palm, but soon it recovered completely. No, I have to get out of here. This jungle is way too dangerous. The consumption of Zhen Qi is not proportional to the recovery speed. I will die here sooner or later. Qin Hao was extremely annoyed. He had just escaped from the wind wolf, and now he was surrounded by cyan and red vines. Ever since he had entered the 100,000 mountain range, nothing had gone smoothly. Fortunately, he was not too far away from the jungle, so he should be able to get out of here. The vacuum giant palm burst out, and Qin Hao opened up a bloody path, rushing back the way he had come. Right at that moment, a big tree not far away from him was suddenly smashed in the middle, and a huge figure appeared in front of him. If it was not the wind wolf, what else could it be? A man and a beast were facing each other, but they did not notice that there was a purple gas spreading down from the sky. This gas was like a living creature, twisting and wriggling, and its color was extremely bright. Shoo! A huge hole appeared on Qin Hao's protective Zhen Qi, and the flesh and blood on that part were quickly corroded into ashes. The wind wolf in front of him was not any better. The purple gas was obviously the bone-corroding miasma above the jungle. When the big tree was smashed, the extremely heavy bone-corroding miasma sank down and spread out. I don't want to die like this. Qin Hao opened his mouth and roared out. Soon, his body was corroded into ashes. The wind wolf was extremely powerful, and it was surprisingly not killed by the bone-corroding miasma. Howling, it rushed back the way it came from. However, soon its body became shorter, and was corroded into ashes bit by bit. There was not even a trace of it left. It was even more horrifying than the vines in the jungle. The purple gas did not sink too much, and after it had spread to a certain area, it stopped expanding. Furthermore, the huge trees nearby were slowly absorbing the purple gas, and then releasing it out from the top of the trees, merging into the air above the jungle. A special balance had been formed between the two. In the middle of the jungle, Yi-chan raised his head and saw a mountain that was over 1,000 meters high. The front part of the mountain was protruding like a nose, and the two sides of the mountain were weirdly extending upwards, looking like the horns of a goat. Goat Head Mountain. It is indeed here. The vines were still chasing after Yi Chun. No one knew how long they were or how many there were. Yi Chun kept killing the vines while rushing towards the nose of the mountain. When he got closer, Yi Chun found out that it was a huge cave. It was open like a goat's mouth, and it was pitch black inside. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Let's go in first. Dispersing the tornado, Yi Chun's body flashed and disappeared into the mouth of the goat. The vines behind him followed him in like a tide. With his powerful soul power, Yi Chun could see the darkness as nothing. He smoothly went into the deep part of the cave, avoiding all the obstacles around him. There are stairs here. Seems like it was indeed made by someone. On the left side, Yi Chun found a secret staircase, which was curved and extended upwards. At first glance, it seemed to be a bit narrow and crowded. Chapter 185. The second floor was no longer pitch black. Countless luminous stones on the walls were emitting a soft light, brightening up the whole space. Once inside, even with Yi Chun's state of mind, he could not help but take a deep breath. So much wealth. That's right, it was indeed a lot of wealth because the second floor did not have only one thing, but all of them were very valuable. Everywhere he looked, there were boxes of gold casually piled up. Each box could contain 100,000 gold, and there were hundreds of boxes here, which added up to tens of millions of gold, which was comparable to the wealth of a mid-level family. Next to the boxes filled with gold were boxes of jewelry, including rubies, emeralds, top-quality agates, crystal necklaces, black pearls, emeralds, and jade, each of which was worth thousands of gold. The total value seemed to be no less than the hundreds of boxes of gold. Although gold and jewelry were easy to obtain for warriors, once it reached a certain amount it would still be shocking. Most of the warriors would not be able to earn that much gold in their entire lives. Plus, the difference was that they earned it bit by bit and did not feel like it was a big deal. However, Yi Chun had just obtained such a huge amount of wealth all of a sudden. Let's put it away first. Yi Chun waved his hand, and the boxes of gold and jewelry flew up into the air, falling into the storage ring. Yeah, the low-rank storage ring is full. These boxes were too big. There were 500 of them in total, and the low-rank storage ring was only 1/10 full. Fortunately, Yi Chun still had a few low-rank storage rings and one mid-rank storage ring. After taking all the gold and jewelry, Yi Chun's eyes fell on the ground next to him. There were boxes of low-rank soul stones and a lot of mid-rank soul stones. A shocking amount of yuan qi from the soul stones gathered in the air, forming images of dragons, tigers, phoenixes, and tortoises. 100 boxes of low-rank soul stones, 5 boxes of mid-rank soul stones. Each box contains 10,000. Yi Chun's breathing sped up. The gold and jewelry had only slightly surprised him, but the amount of soul stones had shocked him. He was sure that the Sky Cloud Martial School's 10 years of savings would not even have 1,000,000 low-rank soul stones, not to mention 50,000 mid-rank soul stones. Without saying a word, Yi Chun put them all into his storage ring. With over 600 chests gone, the space on the second floor suddenly became much wider. Looking around, all the other treasures could be seen. There were 3 gourds of pills. The gourd was filled with qi replenishing pills. The gourd contained essence replenishing pills. The gourd was filled with spirit replenishing pills. The 3 kinds of dawn were auxiliary dawn that could enhance the human body's essence, qi, and spirit. They didn't seem to be of much use, but they could double the speed of a martial artist's cultivation. It should be known that the so-called innate talent was actually the exuberance of essence, qi, and spirit. Therefore, those with innate talent would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort when cultivating zhan qi. For example, Yi Chun's spirit, which was his soul force, was very strong. His comprehension was far beyond ordinary people, and his cultivation speed of martial arts was inconceivably fast. If his essence and qi could keep up, then his cultivation speed of zhan qi would reach the level of innate talent. Of course, during this period he couldn't stop taking the supplement qi dan and supplement essence dan. There are 300 dawn in one gourd. If I take one every 3 days, I can use it for almost 900 days. In Yi Chen's eyes, these 3 gourds of pills were priceless treasures. In fact, they were indeed priceless treasures. If he took them out for auction, even astral-reaching realm martial artists would be tempted, or even go crazy. It should be known that the methods of making pills were usually in the hands of the big martial institutions, and the top-level pills were in the hands of the super martial institutions. An innocent man's wealth will get him into trouble. These 3 gourds of pills are enough to make an astral-reaching realm martial artist kill me. Putting the gourd into his storage ring, Yi Chen thought to himself. He walked to the corner where there was a bookshelf. On the bookshelf were secret manuals. On the top floor were top-rank mortal realm secret manuals, 36 in total. Below that were low-rank earth realm secret manuals, 9 in total. Below that were 3 mid-rank earth realm secret manuals. And at the bottom was a high-rank earth realm secret manual. Without reading it, Yi Chen put it away. He planned to read it when he had the time. Even if he read it now, he wouldn't have the time to cultivate. Letting out a heavy breath, Yi Chen looked around. The second floor had been cleaned out by him, and nothing was left. Let's go to the 3rd floor. His body flashed. Yi Chen flew towards the stairs. Unexpectedly, the 3rd floor was completely empty. There was only a door of light standing in the center, emitting a fine light. Standing in front of the light door, Yi Chen was a little surprised. He didn't know where this light door would transport him to. The unknown always made people hesitate, and Yi Chen was no exception. It took me a lot of effort to find this place. If I don't go in, I will regret it. Making up his mind, Yi Chen stepped into the light door. The space rippled like water, and the next second, Yi Chen disappeared into the light door. Having experienced teleportation once, Yi Chen was much calmer this time, and his mind was calm. After a moment or maybe a day or two, Yi Chen's body relaxed, and he found himself in a magnificent stone room. The stone room didn't have a door, and was surrounded by walls. On the ceiling was a shining crystal lamp, and below the crystal lamp was a stone table. On the stone table, a forearm-length huge key was floating. The key was white, as if it was made from a white crystal, and looked very simple and unadorned. So strange, there's such a big key here. Yi Chen reached out his hand trying to grab the key, but found that there was an invisible force around the key, and it seemed to be impregnable. Break! Activating all of his Zhen Qi, Yi Chen clenched his palm into a fist and punched the air. Dong! The invisible force didn't disperse, and instead, the huge counterforce made Yi Chen's feet leave the ground, and he was sent flying backwards, nearly crashing into the wall of the stone room. With a cold look, Yi Chen pulled out the dragon spring sword, and released 4 streams of sword qi in a row. The sword qi shot out and thunder roared. However, in the next moment, the sword qi was also bounced back with an even stronger force. Waving his sword and shattering the reflected sword qi, Yi Chen let out a bitter smile. Although he knew that the white key could be very useful, he couldn't get it with his current power. Temporarily giving up on the key, Yi Chen looked around the entire stone room. There was also a stone table in the corner, on which a plain jade slip was placed. Yi Chen waved his hand, and this time there was no strange invisible force, and the jade slip was easily sucked into his hand. However, after looking through the jade slip for a while, Yi Chen didn't find any special function. After thinking for a while, he injected his Zhen Qi into it. All of a sudden, an image appeared in Ji Hao's mind. On the ground, there was a 100-meter-tall beast with a pair of horns on its head, roaring. It opened its mouth and blew a huge mountain away. Then it stamped its foot on the ground, and the ground split open. Lava spurted out from the cracks, dyeing the sky red. This beast was so powerful that it had never been seen or heard of before. Perhaps only life and death realm warriors could be this powerful. Just when the beast pulled out a thousands of zhang tall mountain, a stone pillar-like finger appeared in the air. The finger moved like a shooting star, and pointed at the beast's forehead. Bang! The beast's body exploded and disappeared. While Yi Chen was still in shock, that finger was pointing at his forehead. There was no way for him to escape, and there was no way for him to retreat. All of a sudden, Yi Chen felt like his head was about to explode. Countless messy information flooded his brain, and soon, all of these messy information combined into a text and a martial exercise map. It turned out that this finger art was called the void-shattering finger art. However, what was taught to Yi-chan was not the complete void-shattering finger art, but the third movement. According to Yi-chan's understanding, only this one movement was already extremely powerful. That beast had the power of a life and death realm warrior, but it still couldn't handle the power of this finger art. Of course, he also knew that without enough power, even if he learned this finger art to its fullest, he still wouldn't be able to kill an astral-reaching realm warrior, not to mention that horrifying beast. For a warrior, no matter how powerful a martial skill was, he still needed the power to activate it. Otherwise, it would just be an empty shell since cultivation was the most important thing. Besides the training method for the third movement of the void-shattering finger art, the information also told him that if he wanted to break through the invisible force outside of the white key, he would need to learn a little bit of the void-shattering finger art. Just a little bit would be enough, and he didn't need much. The time limit was 3 days. After 3 days he would be teleported back and he would never get the white key again. 3 days. Let me try. Yi-chan sat on the ground with his legs crossed and started to study the mysterious third movement of the void-shattering finger art. 1 day later, Yi-chan pointed out his finger, and the air twisted instantly, making a popping sound. Shaking his head, Yi-chan closed his eyes and continued to study. On the second day, Yi-chan opened his eyes and slowly pointed out his finger. Pooh! The invisible force around the white key released a light ripple, but soon, it disappeared completely, and everything went back to normal. Still not working. Only 1 more day left. Yi-chan forced a smile at first, then performed his sword intent to cut off all the distracting thoughts. He sank his mind into the study of the void-shattering finger art. From time to time, he would recall the scene of that huge finger shattering the beast. Time passed by bit. Yi-chen's eyebrows would stretch and frown from time to time. Within that short period of time, it was hard to tell how many times they had changed. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, a wave of horrifying qi suddenly spread out from Yi-chen's body. He suddenly opened both of his eyes. His pupils were chaotic, and no one could tell how deep they were. Break! Using all of his power, Yi-chan pointed out his finger at the invisible force. Boom! The invisible force was finally shattered. No, more accurately, it was broken. The power of the void-shattering finger art was still not as powerful as the sword qi. However, the invisible force was closely related to the void-shattering finger art, which was why it was able to break the invisible force. Studying the void-shattering finger art was extremely exhausting. Yi-chan wiped the sweat off his forehead, then took out a chi-replenishing pill, a spirit-replenishing pill, and a spirit-replenishing pill, and put them into his mouth. After resting for a while, Yi-chan walked to the white key. The key was the size of a forearm, with an ancient character 4 written on the front. Other than that, there was nothing special about it, and it did not cause any changes. The moment Yi-chan picked up the white key, a light door appeared in the stone room. The light door was faintly visible, and seemed like it could disappear at any second. Not daring to stay any longer, Yi-chan put the white key back into his pocket, then flashed into the light door. When he reappeared, Yi-chan had returned to the 2nd layer of the Goathead Mountain. Along with a buzzing sound, the light door in the middle of the 2nd layer disappeared completely. It would be impossible for him to enter the stone room again in the future. No one knew where the stone room was, or if there were any other places in the stone room. When he was about to walk down to the next layer, Yi-chan slightly frowned. His soul power had sensed that there were 2 people in the next layer. These 2 people were none other than Murong Qingcheng and Qi Xiaofeng. Why are they here? For a moment Yi-chan was confused. The dark red vine's speed was far faster than the cyan and red vines, and it was about to hit the 2's protective Zhanqi in an instant. With their current strength they would definitely die. Chi. Suddenly a tornado swept past, blasting the dark red vines to the side, then wrapped around the 2 of them and rushed out. It's you. Murong Qingcheng didn't break free from Yi-chen's grasp and let him hug her. She looked a little surprised. Yi-chan looked at the green and red vines that were torn apart by the tornado, and said lightly, "How did you get here?" He suspected that the two of them had followed him. Qi Xiaofeng explained, Murong and I were looking for a magic herb, but we were forced into this jungle by the lunar wind wolf. I see. Yi Chan was still a little suspicious, but he kept a calm expression on his face. Are you suspecting us? Asked Murong Qingcheng. That's not important. What's important is to get out of here. If the two of them were in their best condition, Yi Chan wouldn't have saved them. After all, both of them were more powerful than him, and their movement skills were also better than his. If they joined hands, they could kill him 10 times over. No matter what, I'll remember this favor. Murong Qingcheng didn't say another word. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The dark red vines had caught up with them. With the intensity of their attacks, they were more than powerful enough to penetrate the tornado and tear apart the protective zhanqi of the three of them. Put your arms around my waist, said Yi Chan. Murong Qingcheng hesitated for a second, but when she saw the dark red vines chasing after them, she did as she was told and put her arms around Yi Chen's waist. Seeing this, Qi Xiaofeng's facial expression slightly froze. With his right hand free, Yi Chan pulled out the dragon spring sword, and without even turning his head around, he launched another large-scale attack of the shocking cloud sword art, lightning flashing and thunder rumbling. Along with a series of thunderous booms, tens of sword lights darted out. Along with a series of puffing sounds, the dark red vines that were chasing after them were all cut into pieces, but soon, they grew out again and continued chasing after the tornado, which was still far away. In the jungle, this was the 5th time that Yi Chan had launched the swirling winds and clouds, and had consumed a lot of his zhanqi. Without any intention to avoid arousing suspicion, Yi Chan put a pill into his mouth, which could instantly replenish his zhanqi. Murong Qingcheng and Qi Xiaofeng didn't care too much about it. In their eyes, the pill Yi Chan had just swallowed was just an ordinary pill, and if he used too much of it, his zhanqi would still be weak. However, they were still a bit confused as to why Yi Chen's power was still at its peak. Could it be that he hadn't been attacked by the vines before, and thus had only taken a few pills? That was the only possible explanation, and it was precisely because of this that Yi Chan took the pellet without any hesitation. Rumble! The tornado rolled the three of them up and flew at an incredible speed. Under Yi Chen's control, the tornado was also incredibly agile, easily avoiding all kinds of obstacles. Brother Yi, this sword art of yours is really amazing, it can even wrap people up in it. Qi Xiaofeng couldn't help but praise. Yi Chan smiled, but didn't explain that he had adapted the swirling winds and clouds. The jungle was the base of the man-eating vines, and many dark red vines and cyan red vines had surrounded them. Star-shattering cut. Sky Devil force field. Although Murong Qingcheng and Qi Xiaofeng weren't as powerful as Yi Chan, they still had some of their powers left. They both launched their special skills and started killing those vines. Yi Chan was quite happy, but the remaining power of the two still surprised him a bit, especially Murong Qingcheng, who was still more powerful than Linyu. Fortunately, Yi Chan clearly understood the consequences of swallowing too many pills. Without a couple of months of hard work, he wouldn't be able to recover to his peak state. Soon, the three of them were not far away from the edge of the jungle. Suddenly Yi Chan frowned. What's wrong? Asked Murong Qingcheng. A powerful living being is chasing us from under the ground. It's moving at an amazing speed. Soul power couldn't penetrate too deep into the ground. Therefore, Yi Chan didn't know what that powerful living being was, but he didn't doubt its power. What should we do now? Just when they were about to leave this dangerous place, another wave of danger came. Both Murong Qingcheng and Qi Xiaofeng were instantly thrown into confusion. Yi Chan took a deep breath and said, I have a way to get out, but it'll cost me a lot. What kind of cost? I'll compensate you. Qi Xiaofeng said without hesitation. A yuan light ball. Yuan light ball. Qi Xiaofeng was surprised. He had heard about this kind of extremely rare life-saving treasure. It was said that it could block any attack launched by any martial artist under the astral reaching realm. To clasping yuan realm martial artists, a yuan light ball was even more precious than a mid-rank great weapon, or even a high-rank great weapon. After all, the latter couldn't guarantee their lives, but the yuan light ball could. I'll compensate you with 100,000 low-rank and 3,000 mid-rank stones. Murong Qingcheng also said. I'll compensate you with 200,000 low-rank and 3,000 mid-rank stones. Originally, both of them didn't have so many spirit stones, but they had earned quite a lot from the ancient inherited land that only happened once every 10 years. Just like Yi Chan, he had gained so many treasures and exchanged them for the institution. Seeing Yi Chen's indifference, Qi Xiaofeng said, "Brother Yi, do you think it's not enough? All these soul stones were equivalent to the savings of 10 or even dozens of inner elders. Normal clasping Yuan realm warriors would not even dare to think about it. Not everyone could be like them, who could enter the ancient inheritance place and gain so many treasures from it." Yi Chan said, "Yuan light ball is a life-saving treasure for me. If I use it this time, I won't have it next time. Nothing is more important than my life." Qi Xiaofeng was speechless. What Murong Qingqing said made sense. If he were in Murong Qingqing's shoes, he wouldn't be satisfied either. Murong Qingqing said, "What about a mid-rank storage ring?" "Murong." Qi Xiaofeng was surprised. Murong Qingqing shook her head and said, "Worldly possessions are worldly possessions after all. Brother Yi, you're right, worldly possessions are nothing compared to life." Yi Chun was shocked. Murong Qingqing actually had a mid-rank storage ring, which was priceless. After all, a low-rank storage ring was only as big as a room, while a mid-rank storage ring was as big as a grand hall. The difference between the two was 10 times, and the value of a mid-rank storage ring was 100 times higher. Right now, he was in need of a mid-rank storage ring. Those 600 chests of gold, jewelry, and spirit stones had taken up all of his low-rank storage rings, and his mid-rank storage ring was only left with 2/3 of its space, which might not be enough in the future. Alright, deal. Yi Chun understood that this was their limit, not to mention that even if he left them behind, that terrifying creature might not let him go, and might even use the Yuan light ball in the end. Soon, the two of them gave the promised compensation to Yi Chan. The method was very simple. When the storage ring was fully activated, a light screen would appear, and the things that were thrown into the light screen would be put into the storage ring, without having to go through the ring's hand. Boom! Right at this moment, a large area of the ground behind them collapsed, and a gigantic human-shaped monster crawled out of the ground. It was over 100 meters tall, and its body was connected to numerous vines. Some were cyan red, some were dark red, and some were purple red, which they had never seen before. The man-eating vine mother had appeared. Seeing this, the three of them gasped. They suspected that even the Yuan light ball might not be able to block this attack. Swoosh! 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 Countless vines flew towards the three of them. Among them, the purple-red vines were the rarest, but they were indeed the fastest. They had already broken the speed of sound, flashed across the air, and pierced through the tornado, reaching less than 3 feet away from the three of them. Pop! The purple-red vines were blocked, and a layer of blue light screen appeared around the three of them. The light screen was a foot thick, with blue streams of air constantly rotating within it. The defense of the light screen was amazing. What was even more frightening was that the purple-red vines had penetrated 1/3 of the light screen, and were even more powerful than the Wind Wolf. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.